Today we're bringing together two different pantry staples from totally different parts of the world. Italian passata and Korean gochujang. On paper, they seem like an odd couple, but in the pan, they just work. I'm Nik Sharma, a molecular biologist, turned cookbook author, and full-time flavor enthusiast. And today, we're turning them into a pasta sauce that's rich, silky, and packed with umami. No fuss, just smart cooking. Let's dive in. If you'd like to follow along with this recipe, you can get step-by-step instructions on the ATK app. I'm starting by mincing shallots and garlic. Shallots are loaded with sugars like fructose and are actually sweeter than yellow or red onions. And garlic, it's not just here for the punch. It brings its own flavors to the mix. I'm going to dice this shallot using the Bob Kramer carbon steel knife by Zwilling. Lots of chefs love carbon steel because it's easy to maintain a razor-sharp edge. The ATK review team tested 8 carbon steel knives, and the razor-sharp blade and comfortable handle on this one made it the winner. So shallots are sweeter than onions. There's more sugar in them, so when you're cooking them down, they actually end up tasting much sweeter, especially if you're just softening onions or caramelizing them. I like mincing them fine because then they cook faster. Now I'm going to mince some garlic and then divide it in half. Now that my garlic is completely minced up, I'm going to divide it in half and then move on to making the sauce. To start the sauce, I'm melting some butter, and then I'm going to add my shallots and garlic. I'm going to saute these shallots until they turn brown, 3 to 5 minutes. Now I'm adding my garlic to the shallots and going to saute them. The garlic's done, and I'm going to move on to the next stage of making this sauce. If you open my fridge, you'll always find two things: a big tub of gochujang and a tube of tomato paste. They are packed with umami. Gochujang is one of the most fascinating ingredients out there, a Korean fermented chili paste made from glutinous rice, soybeans, salt, gochugaru, and often barley malt. Next, I'm going to add the tomato paste. And I'm going to stir this all together until it's just combined with gochujang. The magic happens during fermentation. Lactic acid bacteria and molds break down the rice into sugars, and those sugars feed microbes, which produce acids, and that's where that subtle tang comes from. Meanwhile, enzymes break down proteins into glutamates. What you end up with is thick, sweet, spicy, tangy, and packed with savory depth, a total flavor powerhouse. And because we're going big, I'm bringing in tomato paste too. It's basically umami concentrate, rich in natural glutamates, sugars, and just enough acidity. It's the perfect co-star. Look at how the gochujang and the tomato paste are all coming together, and the butter has turned beautifully bright red. To finish the sauce, I've got a couple more key players. First up, 1 cup of passata. It's an uncooked strained tomato puree made from ripe peeled tomatoes. Smooth, bright, naturally sweet, and no seeds or skins to get in the way. Next in, heavy cream. It's an emulsion of milk fats, proteins, and water, and it gives the sauce that luxurious, velvety texture. Here's the cool part. As the sauce cooks, some water from the passata evaporates. That helps concentrate the tomato solids and helps everything emulsify with the butter fat. And the starches in gochujang, they help hold the whole thing together, keeping it smooth and glossy. We're not just tossing in ingredients, we're building structure, engineering a sauce that's balanced, creamy, and full of flavor. The sauce is turning creamy and smooth, and it almost has this luxurious velvety texture to it. Next, I'm going to add salt. I'm going to season this with a little bit of pepper, and the sauce is ready. This video is sponsored by Stobe and Zwilling, brands I enjoy using. Stobe's Dutch ovens are made with recycled materials and serious attention to detail. And I use Zwilling knives every day at home. Links to everything I'm using are below. As of now, the way this pasta dish stands, there is the smooth, tender pasta and the silky gochujang sauce, but it needs a crunchy element. And that's where the pan grattato comes in. It's seasoned, toasted breadcrumbs that are often used in Italian cooking to build textural interest. I'm using panko instead of regular breadcrumbs here. Panko is made by shredding bread with an open crumb into large, airy flakes. This gives panko a lighter structure, it absorbs less moisture and fat, allows for better evaporation during cooking, and stays crisp and delicate even when toasted or fried. Perfect for adding texture without weighing the dish down. Now I'm going to make the panko topping. First, I'm going to add some butter, and I'm going to melt the butter in my skillet. Now that my butter is melted, I'm going to add my panko. And I'm going to toast the panko until it turns golden brown. I like crunchy textures, which is why I love panko whenever it comes to any recipe with breadcrumbs, just because it adds extra reliable crispiness to everything. My panko is beautifully golden brown. I'm going to transfer it to my bowl. Now I'm going to add the garlic that I prepared earlier. The residual warmth from the toasted crumbs is enough to gently temper the garlic. It softens that raw bite without fully overcooking it. And right now, I can actually smell those bright aromatic flavors just with a whisper of sharpness in the mix, which is going to make this the perfect topping. My topping's done. Let's cook the pasta. Like any good pasta, this starts with a big pot of boiling water. But the salt I'm adding, it's doing more than just seasoning. At the molecular level, salt dissolves into ions, tiny charged particles. The sodium ions interact with the pasta's proteins, especially gluten, tightening that structure and giving you that firm, chewy bite, real al dente. As the pasta cooks, the salt seeps in, seasoning it from the inside out, so every piece stays savory, not dull or flat. I'm using rigatoni here because of those ridges. I love the way they hold on to sauce like it's their job. But if you don't have rigatoni, go for something with texture. Penne, fusilli, even orecchiette. Anything that grabs onto the sauce and doesn't let go. I'm using the 7-quart round cocotte from stove to cook my pasta, and I'll also use it to bring everything together at the end. I love this matte interior. It's super easy to clean, doesn't require any seasoning, and it doesn't stain. As the pasta cooks, the salt starts to seep in, seasoning it from inside out. So every piece will taste savory, not dull or flat. I like to cook my pasta al dente because I love that little bite that comes at the end. It just adds a little more extra texture. Okay, the pasta's done. I'm going to take it off the heat and then drain it at the sink and save some of this pasta cooking water. To bring it all together, I'm folding the sauce into the pasta along with a splash of that starchy cooking water I saved earlier. The gelatinized starches in this pasta water are natural emulsifiers, helping the butter, tomato, and gochujang blend into one smooth, stable sauce. The water also lets me tweak the texture, so the sauce clings just right to every piece of pasta, glossy, silky, and fully locked in. I like to finish this with a trio of sprinkles. First up, chives. They bring a fresh, herby onion flavor and a pop of green that cuts right through the richness and lights up that deep red sauce. Then comes the panko pan grattato. Crispy, toasty, airy, but it's got to go on right before serving. If you let it sit too long, the sauce will start to steal that crunch. And of course, Parmesan, because every pasta deserves cheese. Salty, nutty, umami-packed joy, extra welcome. And there it is, mezze rigatoni wrapped in a spicy, umami-rich sauce. I get heat, deep savory depth, a little sweetness, a hint of brightness, and that garlicky crunch at the end, which is on top of the pasta for that perfect contrast. This is proof that when you understand your ingredients, even ones from completely different corners of the world, you can layer flavor in bold, simple, powerful ways. I hope you give this one a try and see how global flavors can completely transform your everyday weeknight pasta. If you want to learn more about the stove and swirling products I used in today's episode, check out the link below. I'll see you next time.